Hi, welcome to Kaylee's Rockin' Reviews, where you'll see me drinking tea, talking about books, and rocking in my chair. So I decided that I was going to jump on the bandwagon before June was over and do my mid-year book freakout tags. I will be linking the creators of this tag list down below. So I'm going to be answering 13 questions about the books that I have read so far in the first half of this year. The first question on the list is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2020? And that would have to be The Only Ones by Aaron Starmer. This is one of my all-time favorite authors, and this was actually a reread for me, but I'm including it anyway because I did my reread in 2020. I do have a full review of this up, so if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. I did give this book 5 out of 5 stars, so I definitely recommend. The second question is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far? And I actually haven't read a lot of sequels yet this year. I have a lot on my list. I just didn't read a whole lot of them yet. I did read The Testaments, which I read for class. I took a whole class on dystopic literature. I wouldn't say this is the greatest, but I did enjoy it. I am looking forward to a lot more of the sequels that I have coming up, though. So for those of you who don't know, this is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 star review. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was phenomenal. The next question is, what is a new release that you are excited to read that you haven't read yet? And this is one of those sequels that I haven't read yet that I was talking about. But this is The One and Only Bob by Catherine Applegate. And I am so stoked to read this book. I loved the first book, The One and Only Ivan, and Catherine Applegate is one of my favorite authors and has been since I was a kid. Her stories are just very near and dear to my heart, and so I'm excited to see where this book takes us. It'll be a good time. The next question is, what is your most anticipated new release of 2020? There are a few of them. I couldn't just narrow it down to one. There's a lot of books I'm excited for. One of them is Meme by Aaron Starmer. I am so excited to read a new Aaron Starmer book. I believe it's coming out in July. I don't know a whole lot about it yet, but I trust Aaron Starmer as an author so much that I already know I'm going to enjoy it. And if it's anything like the rest of his stories that I've read, it's going to be phenomenal. I'm also really excited for The Relentless Moon by Mary Robinette Kowal. It is the third book in her Lady Astronaut of Mars series, which I have really been enjoying so far. This series is a prequel for her short story, Lady Astronaut of Mars. It goes along an alternate history in which a meteor crashes into Earth and they have to populate another planet, and it just goes along figuring out how they're going to do that. I'm also really excited for The Shadows of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. It is the sequel to The Rise of Kyoshi, which is set in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it follows Avatar Kyoshi's story. And this one, I do believe, is coming out in July. I really enjoyed the first book, and I fully expect the second book to be even better. Next is, what was the biggest disappointment? And that would have to be Want by Cindy Pan. This is also a book that I read for my dystopia class. I expected it to be so much better than it was. So the premise of this is the world has become so polluted that you have to go around wearing these suits that clean the air for you, but only really rich people can afford them, so everyone else just has to make do with a face mask. And they have a significantly shortened lifespan. And I was really expecting something to happen in this book, but a lot of it was just contrived and nothing really happened. Our main character pines after this girl the whole time. And then, I mean, at the end of the book, we're just back basically where we started. It has LGBTQ characters in it, but I really felt like they were poorly represented because we hardly even saw them. And this was just a really, really big letdown for me. I don't know if I'm going to read the second book or not. It was such a big letdown. But I think the second book has a lot more of the LGBTQ characters in it. So that kind of makes me want to pick up the second book and just see if it gets any better. But this was just so disappointing for me, I just might not. That mini rant made me thirsty. This is why we need calming tea. The next question is, what was the biggest surprise? And honestly, the biggest surprise so far for me has been The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Not that it was that great, but I had no idea that there was even going to be a prequel coming out. I actually heard about this in my dystopia class, and I thought I heard wrong at first because I really didn't think that we were going to get anything like this. I thought the series was done and over, and that was the last that we were going to hear from it. But apparently I was wrong, and we got this. I really expected to hate it, which it wasn't great, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. I thought it was just okay. I ended up giving this a 2-star review on Goodreads. Goodreads doesn't do halves, so it might actually be more of a 2.5 star. But I have a full review of this book as well, so you can see my full thoughts on this there. Next is my favorite new author, either debut or new to me. I chose new to me, and that is F.C. Yee, who wrote The Rise of Kyoshi. This is so far the only book of theirs that I've read, but I loved it so much, and I thought the writing was so beautiful in it that I'm sure that their other books are also going to be wonderful. I do really need to get some more of them. The next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? I have never really been one to form crushes on fictional characters. I think the closest that I have come to that this year is Sabitha from The Republic of Thieves, which is the third book in the Lies of Locke Lamora series. I don't really count her a whole lot in the first and second because we never actually meet her. She's just alluded to and kind of built up to us. But she makes her appearance in this one, and I love her. And I love every single moment that she gets the better of Locke. And I think she's just so much better than he is. And I just love her. And I think that more people should love her and less people should love Locke. That's some tea spilt there. But like I said, I don't really form crushes on fictional characters, so I don't really have a crush on her. I just really like her. There is only one character that I've ever formed a fictional crush on, and sadly, it was not in a book that I read in 2020, so I couldn't include him. But that would be Suhail from the Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. And I just formed such an attachment to him, and I want him to be real. The next question is, what's a book that made you cry? And that would be, I'm taking apart the whole pile here. That would be The Lies of Locke Lamora. I did like this book, but the part that made me cry, I was mostly mad. So they were partly sad tears, but mostly angry tears. I'm not going to get into why, because spoilers, and I think people would be mad if I included spoilers. Next is what book made me happy, and I actually have 3 books in a series here. I was not expecting them to make me as happy as they did, but this is the According to Mr. Rogers series, and this is just a bunch of quotes from Mr. Rogers and excerpts from his writings and from his shows, and they were so good, and they just fill me with so much joy. I really should have expected it, because I always am happy when I'm watching Mr. Rogers. Mostly it's these 2. This one is more for parents, which I am not, so I couldn't relate to it as much. But these 2, Life's Journeys According to Mr. Rogers and The World According to Mr. Rogers, really filled my heart with joy and made me happy. Next is, what is the most beautiful book that you have bought in 2020? And I couldn't decide, so I have 2 to show you. This one is House of Earth and Blood. And this jacket is really beautiful, but what really wins this for me is the inside. I just think this is such stunning artwork. I love it. I have not read this book yet, but the artwork is worth it for me. I will end up reading this, but for now, I will just gaze lovingly at the artwork. I also have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, A Visual History, and I just think this is beautiful. Like, look at this spine. It's so pretty, and the inside cover is just so beautiful with all the little trolleys on that black backdrop. And it is full of photography from behind the scenes and the set. And it's just wonderful. I have not read through this yet. I thumb through it sometimes and just look at it. But it's got some beautiful drawings in it too. Like here in the table of contents, we have some beautiful renderings of some of the main puppets in the land of make-believe. And they're just so adorable. Look at them. Look at that little Daniel Tiger over there. I don't like Mr. Rogers or anything. I don't know what you're talking about. You're a liar. So we are on to question 13. The last question. And I still have this pile of books to talk to you about. And this isn't even as many as should be up here. But the last question is, what books do I need to read by the end of 2020? A lot more than this, but these are some that I grabbed off the shelf that I really need to read. The first 2 are by Rivers Solomon, and I'm hoping to have them read by the end of July. But there's An Unkindness of Ghosts and The Deep. And I'm really excited for them. I've never read any Rivers Solomon books, and they just look so beautiful. And I think I'm gonna really like them. The next book that I really need to read is Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Kowal. I need to read this whole series, actually. It's the Glamorist History series. I've been meaning to read this for a really long time. And I just get so many books that I just end up picking up. So I really, really need to read this soon. I keep recommending it to people just because I trust Mary Robinette Kowal so much. And like based on what other people might like if you like Jane Austen, from what my husband has told me and what I've read about this series, this is very Jane Austen-esque, but fantasy. So I'm just really intrigued by this, and I promise I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I also need to read The Heart Forger, which is the sequel to The Bone Witch. The Bone Witch was so good, and I have been putting off reading this so I can read other books because I like to take breaks in between my series so I don't finish them too fast. Because I get really sad when I finish a really good series. But I need to stop putting it off and read this so then I can read the last one and I can talk about it more. I also really... Okay. I have mixed feelings on this one. I need to read The Girl with All the Gifts. We were supposed to read this for my class, and then everything happened, and so we just ended up watching the Netflix version of this, which I was so disappointed by, and I did not like it. But I really want to give the book a chance because books are generally better than the movies. I just really hope it is better and that I'm not going to just be disappointed all over again once I read it. And then the last book that okay, it's not the last book that I need to read before the end of 2020, but it's the last book that I'm including in this video, is The Rage of Dragons. I have seen so many great reviews of this from other booktubers, and I love dragons, so it seems really promising. I don't know a whole lot about it yet because I don't want to spoil anything for myself, but I think this is going to be really great, and I am super excited to read it. So that's where I am so far this year. As you can see, I have a lot of work yet to do. I will be posting a June wrap-up video on Wednesday, and I'm aiming for Saturday for a tier list of dragons. So if you have any dragons that you want me to include in that, comment below, let me know, and I will do my best to include them. If you liked this video and you liked my comment, be sure to subscribe and like. I upload every Saturday and time allowing in the middle of the week as well. In the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, and rock on.